What's going on, guys? Alright, welcome to the second video on the 6R80. You probably can't see it because it's down here on the floor, sort of on the floor, down here on a cart, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, this second video on a 6R80 swap on the Foxbody. I know you're probably asking why another video. It's because I want to do some things different on this swap than I did on the last one. If you don't know, if you're new to the channel, I did a 6RA swap on a white hatch, same motor, turbo 5 or 5.8, small block Ford. And if you want to look at those videos or see that series, I'll leave it up here, one of these sides. You can click on it, watch the series on that. But on this series on the 6R80, we're going to do things a little bit different, and I'm going to explain a little bit more on how to do the swap and things I'm going to do different than I did on my last one. So today we're basically going to discuss, the benefits of doing a 6R80, basically the pros. There is some cons, but as with everything else, there's always the goods and the bads. So first, let's start with the goods. Got me a little whiteboard here. And like I said, we're going to talk about what's goods and what's the bads. First, I got the goods here. Goods. Strength. 6R80s are very, very strong transmissions. I believe the torque rating on these, stock form, nothing touch internal, about 600 pound-feet of torque. Basically, it's torque rating of a TKO or a TKX transmission. I think I said that right. So these transmissions will hold tons of power. There's guys out there pushing 600-700 more horsepower through these transmissions and haven't failed yet. Obviously, the weight of the car is going to make a difference of how much power the transmission is going to hold. So they hold a lot of power, stock form. You can build these up, hold 1,000+ horsepower. 2, stock form. You can lock the converter up in wide open throttle. They come with a triple disc in the converter. You can be able to lock up any gear and, like I said, go wide open throttle and hold it down. I actually did it on my last swap. On a dyno, we locked the converter up, 4th gear pull, laid down 770 horsepower. No slip detected on the controller or anything. It held the power just fine. On this swap, I do have a converter ordered. I am not, that's one of the things I did change on this build. I am not running the stock truck converter. I am using a different converter. I ordered a FTI converter specifically for my setup. So I basically gave them all the information, motor specs, car weight, kind of estimate because I really don't know. Gearing, how much power is it making, was it shifting at, stuff like that. So I gave them all that information and basically kind of just built a converter for my setup. So 3, cheap. I mean, they're not as cheap they used to be. I was able to find them $300-400 out of a wrecking yard easily around my area, with 50, 60, 70,000 miles on. This transmission, I don't know how many miles are on it, so did go ahead and pull the pan off of it. Fluid looks good, and it's dark, it's worn. I mean, it's you can tell it's definitely a used transmission. But was it horrible? Does it smell like it's burnt or anything like that? So basically, number 3, cheap. I call them the Ellis of transmissions because you can basically find them anywhere. Also, I want to discuss too on 6R80s. There's several versions of the 6R80. So there's one for V6s, V8s. The bell housing isn't the same. The 6R80 has the V6 version has a different bell housing. It's a totally different case. can't use it. It will not bolt up to a 5. It won't bolt up to any 5-liter motor, small block Ford, or anything like that. It will not work. The transmissions you want to go for is a V8, 5-liter F-150 or Mustang. Granted, the 6R80 between the two are a little bit different. Casing's a little bit different. They got some of the mountings for the shifter and stuff mounts a little bit differently. If you do get a 6R80, get an F-150 version. The reason why is the F-150 version comes with a extra set of clutches, or disc, we won't call them clutches, disc, we won't call them, in the transmission. Comes with extra set versus the Mustang version. But other than that, everything's basically the same, other than some few things on the side, like the linkage and stuff like that. That is different. But other than that, if you do get a 6R80, I suggest getting a F-150 version. Because the strength, and also it's cheaper. You get them a lot cheaper. Right now I'm seeing them about 100,000 miles on them, which I really like to see under 100,000. You're gonna start torching and everything. About 100,000 miles 6R80, put on spinning $2,700 to $800. You might find a deal on eBay, or hell, I think you try your local wrecking yard is your best bet. Basically, this one came from my local wrecking yard. You possibly get a good deal on. I think the last transmission I bought, the last 6R80 I bought, I think I spent $300 for it. But the 6R80 kit I have here, I bought from a buddy local of me. He was in the middle of installing, or he had the transmission installed. He was in the process of swapping the 6R80 in. But he decided he wanted to go back to the manual. I was able to pick up all this for a really good price. So, has a first 1-gen controller. I did send the controller back to US Shift. They're going to update the firmware on it. I checked the firmware on it. Had the very first firmware there released. It was like 5.7. So it's going to get that flash to 6.1, I believe. It's the first gen Pro. So getting that flashed, we'll get trans brake and everything with that. What else? Using a low car shifter again. You can't really see anything. I'm just kind of looking around. I'm doing a low car shifter again. I'll post everything down below what I'm using on this build. Like I said, I'm using stuff a little bit differently. I'm using a different shifter. For some reason, it's about $200. It's basically the same shifter I had, except it's got a little nubby on it, but that could be changed out later on if I wanted to. Using the PA adapter, which I used on my last swap. There's other adapters out, which is about double the price of this. I think this goes for about $700, brand new. I think there's another adapter now that's going for like $1,500. It does look better, but I think it's going to be an issue behind, my small block Ford, because there's really not a lot of room to work with, and I know this is going to be a pain to get in with this setup. Basically, just the top 2 bolts on the firewall it's going to be the hardest. I'm going to have the bottom bolt motor mounts, turbo, stuff like that, so I can tilt the engine back a little bit, so I can bolt those 2 up top. That's basically everything I want to talk about. So now let's talk about cons. Well, what's the bad about the 6R80? I'll probably say the number one bad thing is, first con, size. It's a big transmission. You stack this up next to a 4R Subby or a C4 or AOD, this transmission will make it look tiny. This is a big transmission. It barely fits in a tunnel of the Foxbody. It fits, but it's tight, especially on mine. Just because of the tilt of the engine I have set up on it. Number 2, this transmission has an internal thermostat in it. So basically, what that means is this transmission will not send any transmission fluid to your cooler till about 195, 200 degrees, somewhere around there. That's when it'll start actually sitting cool to, like I said, to your cooler to help start cooling it down. It's basically just for its emissions thing. I think it's for fuel economy. But these transmissions like to run hot, so that's something I had to basically, figure out when I was doing this, because I wasn't getting no transmission fluid was cycling through the cooler or anything. I was like, what's going on here? What's going on? After doing a bunch of research, finally found it. It's got an internal thermostat. It can be fixed. They do make a thermostat bypass for these transmissions. You have to pull the valve body out to get to it, but it can be done. But on this transmission, I think I'm gonna go ahead and just keep it as it is. I have a big cooler, so it does start to get warm. It's gonna cool up quick. All right, so number 3, when you run a 6R80, you need a custom drive shaft. So basically, you have to wait till you get the transmission in. You gotta pull some measurements and have your local drive shaft maker make you a drive shaft for this transmission. You can't just something you just get off the shelf. I don't know the exact measurements. I want to say it's like 92, 93 inches. I could be wrong, but I did have an aluminum one made a long time ago, basically before COVID. I mean, I got it in a week. Basically telling what's going behind, what, the yoke and everything. Sent pictures, what it looked like on the transmission, on my drive shaft. They maybe went in a week, shipped. I think it took me a week and a half, shipped and everything, and it worked perfect. But on this setup I have here, I have a steel one. It's gonna work just fine. It's a little bit heavier than aluminum, but it's gonna do the job for right now. I can always have aluminum one made down the road. But yeah, number 3, I want to say drive shaft. You're gonna have a custom drive shaft built. Alright guys, so that's basically my little list of pros and cons. There's probably something else, but that's the top things that come to my mind. Like I said, I've done this before, and this is kind of what I come up with. So well guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Next video we're going to start digging into the transmission. I already got some things already for it. And we're going to basically, inspect internals and stuff like that. But, I mean, I've already checked it out. It looks good. Just kind of, a hint for the next video. So, well, guys, if you have anything that, if I missed on this list, you think is important, leave it down below. I know there's a few other guys I know that's done this swap. There's other guys I know out there are really interested in doing a swap themselves. So hopefully I'm trying to be as much information as I can out there for y'all to do this swap and make this just a breeze for y'all. So guys, like I said, I'm gonna end this video here. Be sure to check out the next video, be the 3rd video on the 6R80. We're gonna start digging into the transmission and replacing things what we need to replace, and basically inspect everything. And it's probably going to be a little while. A water converter, it's going to take a couple weeks. That's just how it is. It's a custom converter. And I think that's all. Controller. I don't know when I'm going to get the controller back. I sent that in a week ago. They already got it. Well, they should have gotten it already. And they're going to basically flash it and send it back to me for free of charge, which is really nice of them. So I wasn't really expecting. I was expecting to pay a fee or something. But anyways, guys, gonna wrap up this video here. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and until next time, I'll see y'all later.